Hello, everyone. This is EuroChamber's very first podcast on Mongolia overview, and this is the very first edition of December 2023. My name is Zandan. I'm the CEO of EuroChamber. Byamba?
My name is Byambakhand. I'm Policy Director at EuroChamber. Nice to see you through this podcast.
So, what are we going to discuss today, Byamba?
So basically, we will discuss three main things. First of all, we will discuss about the economic outlook, economic situation in Mongolia, and then we will discuss about the upcoming law, including investment law, commercial law, and also tax reform. And third, we will discuss what happened in Mongolia this month, and we will are focusing on several topics.
Byamba, would you like to start with the economy?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I will discuss about the monetary policy, which is implemented by the Mongol Bank, the Central Bank of Mongolia. And Monetary Council of Mongolia's Central Bank has opted to maintain its benchmark interest rate at 13%, pausing interest rate hike after 4 consecutive increases. And this is actually aimed at stabilizing inflation around the target level and promoting macroeconomic and financial stability. And decision is based on assessment of current and future trends, both in Mongolia and world economy, and as outlined by the central bank. Despite positive effects, there are also some concerns, especially related to the slowdown of Chinese economy, also a situation in Middle East. In June 2022, when inflation reached its peak of the 16.9%, about the 70% of total basket of goods was growing at the annual rate of more than 8%. As of July 2023, 205 goods had growth of rates more than 8%. So basically, inflation is it was like 8%. During throughout this year.
But the problem we see there is, even though the inflation is going down, the prices of goods are not going down. That's what we observe in the real life. So what about GDP growth this year?
There were so many predictions, but according to the projection of the Bank of Mongolia, economic growth expected to reach 4.2% in 2023, but in midterm economic growth expected to rebound and stabilized around the 5%.
Mongolia's economic outlook in 2024 looks very positive, with international financial institutions predicting economic growth of 5.9 to 7.5%. For example, World Bank is predicting Mongolian economy to grow by 6.2%. Mainly attributing to mining sector expands, private consumption, and fiscal expansion staying strong. So in the medium term, the World Bank is projecting our economic growth to accelerate, averaging about 6% in 2025 to 2026. So mainly attributed to mineral production, as Ayatollah's 2023 mining production is anticipated to more than double by 2025. But there are potential risks: lower mineral exports due to slower than expected growth in China, uncertainties on coal offtake agreements, and inflationary pressures as well because of the domestic fiscal expansion and heightened geopolitical tension, both in Middle East and Russia and Ukraine, which would obviously result in higher oil prices and logistical issues as well. So for EBRD, they are more positive on Mongolian economy. They're projecting the growth of 7.5% in 2024. So stronger growth in exports, mining and tourism, strengthening, that's what they're emphasizing. But there are risks on global credit conditions and slowdown in China, obviously. For ADB, they're more conservative on their projections. So initially, they had a projection of 6.1%, but they revised down to 5.9%. So again, mainly driven by mining, positive spillover into transport and other services, and also private sector lending as well. So the Mongol Bank's projection on the inflation is 8.9% and 7.4% at the end of 2023 and 2024 respectively. So the increase in domestic food prices is a problem, especially meat and wheat. So they're mainly driving up the prices for our other products and services. So in 2024, supply side inflation is expected to decrease. So it will basically influence in reducing the headline inflation. However, there remains a significant risk associated with the inflation outlook. So global inflation pressures, also food inflation, because of potentially reduced agricultural output, natural disasters, floods or overheating, or and inflation may increase higher than expected due to the expansion in fiscal expenditures. So now we're moving to the upcoming laws. Would you like to tell us about the investment law?
So investment law was the main discussion of this autumn among the chambers, also for the investors. That's why EuroChamber actually organized several consultation related to the investment law. And this draft law maybe will be discussed by the autumn or spring session of the Parliament of Mongolia. So there is a high expectation related to the law. So let me summarize some key points that EuroChamber provided to the Cabinet of Mongolia. And the EuroChamber proposed, as I said, a comprehensive set of recommendations, suggestions, and comments on investment law. So basically, our aim was strengthening Mongolian competitiveness in regional investment attraction. And our key recommendation, including addressing concerns such as the lack of various incentives, sufficient tax support in the revised law. Also, proposal emphasized the maintenance of crucial tax incentives, creation of independent investor protection council for dispute resolution, and establishment of the specialized court for investment disputes. That's actually very important topics. So according to the some calculation by the Ministry of Economy Development, the court cases actually, how many years actually it took, you already know, right? Starting like one from like 13 years, so average like 6.5 years for getting decision from the court related to the investment and all other foreign related issues, right? And additionally, EuroChamber advocates the sector support for diversification of the economy beyond mining, suggesting the identification of priority sectors, support mechanisms, and also proposal also calls for incorporation of provision allowing to retroactive application of investment law to safeguard investment rights in case of negative impact from newly approved laws. EuroChamber also recommends the inclusion of principle in the draft law to guide the government in handling investment. These principles include non-discrimination towards investment, fair treatment, transparency, commitment to the sustainable development, ensuring the stability of investment, environment, and climate. EuroChamber members also highlighted the absence of a specified minimum capital requirement of $100,000 US in the law, viewing it as an obstacle to entering Mongolian market. So we recommend that the removal of this requirement is maybe have positive impact on attracting investment. Also, our member expressed the support of measures of stabilization, certificates, quota for foreign workers, permanent residency permits for the foreign investors. Our proposal advocates for the incorporation of tax incentives, stabilization provision into tax legislation rather than investment law, which is very important because in the end, tax law prevail over the investment law sometimes.
There are lots of disputes around taxes as well, and it also deters investors in actually investing into Mongolia. So it's good to see that the Investment and Trade Agency was established this year. And also the Investment Protection Council was established, and complaints from the investors are being handled as well. So we can see the number of complaints increasing, but basically it means there is actually a mechanism for that. So the Investment and Trade Agency has actually a mandate to protect investors' interest, and that's a good sign of, to attract investment.
Also, extension of investment law scope to include nuclear energy project and creation of more extensive list of non-tax incentives were also highlighted as essential for enhancing Mongolian competitiveness in the region. Overall, EuroChamber, its members appreciate the government efforts to provide various avenues for dispute resolution and ensure a fair process.
Commercial law. So currently the commercial relations in Mongolia are regulated by the Civil Code, which was enacted back in 2002. So many of the clauses are outdated. Lawyers say that signing contracts take a long time due to lack of experience in contract relations. Dispute resolution takes a long time. As you just said, the Ministry of Economy and Development, they had a statistic saying it takes from 1.5 years till 13 and a half years. Also, because of this, there are lots of increased costs and associated risks. So, also, another issue is a company name is not protected under trademark laws. So renting or selling services poses a challenge. So the lawyers, including, there was recently a discussion where Mobicom's head lawyer was talking about the issues. So there is anticipation of the commercial law to be enhancing the regulations of commercial relations, reduce transaction costs, and facilitate the contract process. The introduction of commercial law is anticipated to enhance the regulations of commercial relations, reduce transaction costs, and facilitate the contract process. So there is a dedicated group at the Ministry of Justice and Internal Affairs to work on the formulation of the commercial law. So when the draft is completed, there will be discussions held. So thanks to the law and legislation, we hope to see more consultations with the relevant stakeholders, and especially, the business laws with the business stakeholders as well. So now to the tax reform.
There was a meeting to discuss current situation of taxation system in Mongolia and need for reforms, which took place in December 2023. And at the meeting, Speaker of the Parliament, Mr. Zandan, made a presentation on finance and tax reform, and he noted that they plan to improve the VAT registration system, from which tax reform should have started, had not been done due to the time restriction. And tax reform should begin straight with the reform of the public finances. For example, insufficient budget spending, unprofitable activities of state-owned organizations should come to end. And he stated that the Mongolian economy is under the pressure of imports, welfare, double deficit, low interest rates. Share of imports GDP has grown from 29.8% in 13 years ago to the 50.8% in 2022, making balance of payment deficit. Also, Speaker briefly presented flow of money from imports and impact on the exchange rates.
Speaking of taxes, EuroChamber was advocating on its mining companies' behalf, especially on the exploration side. Well, obviously, mining exploration is essential for development of mining industry. However, the exploration companies, they face big tax issues when they transfer the exploration licenses to the next buyer. So when exploration companies, they've spent a lot of money bearing all the risks, and they try to potentially make money by selling the license to the development, to the operator. And often the exploration companies, they don't have the capacity to develop the mine by themselves. So when they sell the license, the taxes that are imposed on them is often not on the cost of the sale. Often it's on the historical cost, project cost, which happen to be very high. So in that sense, the taxes tend to be very high. And also withholding taxes for foreign entities is at about 20%, which is also, again, high, and including the corporate income tax, etc. It makes it very expensive for the company to, in terms of taxes. So there is a need to incorporate this kind of issues in the tax reform as well. So next, shall we move on to what happened in Mongolia this month?
And this month, we had several positive developments in terms of Mongolian foreign economic relations with other countries. Mongolia has started with the negotiations with several countries, including South Korea, People's Republic of China, in respect to the free trade agreement. And the first initial negotiations with South Korea started in December. In South Korea, Mongolian negotiators came to Seoul to organize these initial discussions. And the basic aspect of this negotiation considered the economic cooperation encompassing trade in goods and services as well as investments. And the primary objective of this FTA agreement is to boost trade, investment, value-added export, foreign exchange earnings, while diminishing both tariff and non-tariff barriers, streamlining trade process, simplifying customs clearing process.
And currently we have an FTA with Japan, right? How is that going?
So in 2015, Mongolia completed the Japan-Mongolia Economic Partnership Agreement, which is the Mongolian very first FTA agreement with other country. And this FTA created open door for both markets, increased the competitiveness index of Mongolia, and developed FTA with the increase in imports export between two countries.
Right, yeah, well, it might be good news for the trade between Mongolia, China, and Mongolia, Korea, but I'm not sure how it would affect other countries. So maybe other countries may also consider, having separate agreements with Mongolia to boost the trade. Right, so shall we move on to the food security? Well, Mongolia is known, to import a lot of food stuff from China and from elsewhere. But we're getting more self-sufficient recently, right?
Yeah, Mongolia achieved the historic milestone in the vegetable production, harvesting record-breaking 183,000 tons of vegetables, and wheat and potato harvest successfully meet the 100% of domestic demand, while the vegetable production covered the 85% of the requirements. Additionally, harvest of the oilseeds, powder coffers reached the highest level in the last 30 years. Moreover, our meat export increased by 4 times compared to the previous year. In 2022, our country exported 16,000 tons of meat and meat products. As of November this year, 17,000 tons of meat and meat products exported for the $260 million. Additionally, amount of the industrially processed meat has increased 2.6 times.
Mongolia has a lot of opportunities for foreign investment in the agricultural sector, including the livestock market. So especially in the areas of intensive farming, and especially Mongolia is because Mongolia is facing overgrazing as well. So in that sense, intensive farming is a way to go. Also, there are lots of butcheries, wet, for example, processing, various kinds of processing of meat. So there are lots of opportunities in bringing technologies in and investment in. So the next issue we're heading to is public hearing on coal theft issues. So in 2022, we had a big coal theft scandal, which resulted in very big protests in the midst of winter in -30. So a scandal erupted over corruption and conflicts of interest associated with the state-owned coal company called Erdenstavantolle. So the Mongolian government revealed that coal was being illegally transported across the Chinese border without customs registration. So the coal smuggling was allegedly directed by individuals in high-level government positions. So Mongolia's new national opposition party, political party, the Hun Party, calculated that total loss of potential revenue to the Mongolian government was about 40 trillion Mongolian tugriks, which is 13 billion US dollars, equivalent to Mongolia's GDP, annual GDP. So recently, just this month, the public hearing on the coal theft issue was conducted by the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, which was led by the Minister of Justice, EuroChamber. So it was held for 9 days to inspect and analyze the cases and evidence tied to operations of state-owned mining companies on various coal mining areas like sales, transportation, goods, and services. So over to you.
Unfortunately, this month we have been experiencing a lot of shortage issues related to the electricity, petrol, power supply shortage likely across Mongolia through at least the late December due to the operational issue at 2 Russian power plants importing electricity to Mongolia, damage to 230 megawatt unit of the Russian stations and upgraded being performant at the second facility have led to significant reduction in the amounts of power Mongolia is receiving. Consequently, authority is now planning to restrict industrial electricity usage starting from 14th of December and are controlling rolling blackouts for residential customers during the peak hours in Ulaanbaatar and several provinces. Authorities may enact additional conservation measures, including reducing operation hours for retail business if shortfalls persist.
So just on the electricity, it just shows how important the liberalization of energy sector is. For example, Deputy Prime Minister Hurulbaatar is boldly stating that the energy sector needs to be liberalized, but it's possibly very hard for politicians to actually, to introduce that. And also it shows how renewable energy sources are important. EuroChamber has been advocating on behalf of its member companies in renewable energy that more renewable energy sources needs to be sought. So there are a number of European companies interested in investing in the renewable energy sector. So hopefully those issues will be resolved very soon. Also, Orano Group's potential investment in the uranium sector is also highly anticipated by the business community.
Mongolia consumes 38,000 tons to 40 tons of 92 petrol each month, which of more than 90% is sourced from just only Russia. And Minister of Mining and Heavy Industry, Mr. Bямбаханд said that the full supply from Russia is running normally. So we're expecting that the late of this year we will have normal supply from Russia. We hope so, but also there is this is actually one-time issue. Actually, it's occurring many times before even this shortage. That's why we need a solution for that. And one of the solutions to the problem is to finish the construction of oil refinery in Torngat province. And in the mid December, actually, the director of this Mongolia refinery, LSC, gave the interview to the Monzeme. And according to the interview, Mongolia will begin using domestically produced car and jet fuel starting from 2027. And oil refinery in Алтан Ширээ Сум Дорногов province set to commence in operation in 2027. And mechanical assembly for the works of the plants scheduled for completion in 2026.
So speaking of which, the oil exploration as well, for Petromatad, they have been conducting oil exploration, and I think it has finished. So when it starts to extraction, there are lots of issues, I think, around licenses. The government obviously needs to accelerate those kind of domestic projects to allow more supply of petrol and possibly to diversify our supplies of petrol as well.
Also, energy reform is, I think it's needed. Maybe we should have introduced more electric car to solve this problem. Actually, the world is going towards that shift. So we, Mongolia, should actually keep up this phase.
That's it for today. This was EuroChamber Mongolia, Zandan and Byambakhand. We thank you very much for watching. It would be great to have your comments as well. We thank our partners, Lemon Press and Inside Mongolia.